Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Glad you're all here. Thank you so much. How is everybody today? That's good. That's good. It's a beautiful summer day here in Seattle. We're going to give everybody just a moment to arrive because what we know is that our people are folks that try to do things until the last minute. Is that what I'll say? Before something starts. Oh, there, Lucy's lighting a candle. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
It's beautiful.
It's my new friend, Casey.
Hi, Casey. Glad you're here.
Hi there. It's so good to be here. Good to see everybody.
All right. Just about time. I'm gonna just make it so that everybody is not able to unmute themselves, just because people sometimes accidentally unmute, and but I'll change that at the end when we have times for questions. So don't feel like it's just policy. We're recording. Okay. My name is Carrie Kopnick, and I serve the Chaplaincy Institute as our community minister. And I'm so glad that you're all here and that you're joining us for ChI Talks. This is a monthly event exploring the facets of spirituality through an interfaith lens with the ChI community. We do this thing every month on the third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So I hope you'll put that on your calendar and join with us next time too. I think next time is Susan Shannon talking about, oh gosh, I can't remember what she's talking about, but I'll put it in the video notes for those on YouTube. We are recording our session today, so if you wish not to be on camera, turn off your video and your image will not appear in the recording. We'll have time at the end of our time today for questions, either about the Chaplaincy Institute or about today's topic. I also want to thank ChI Chaplaincy student Crystal Blue for being our Zoom jockey today. Thank you, Crystal. If you have any questions, you can text her or message her in the chat. The Chaplaincy Institute is the oldest interfaith seminary in the United States. We provide education for those seeking to serve in hospitals, in hospice, for disasters, in prisons, corporations, military, education, places of education, and for those that are entrepreneurial ministers serving as activists, doing environmental justice, and as well as spiritual directors or spiritual companions. I want to take a moment here to welcome Lisa. Thanks so much for being with us today, Lisa.
Thanks for having me.
Let me share a little bit about Lisa with the gathered community here, and I think she has more to tell you too later. Lisa is a spiritual guide, healer, interfaith chaplain, and contemplative photographer. She incorporates creative, sacred, and healing arts along with her lived experience and prophetic wisdom into her private practice. Lisa's a graduate of Nine Gates Mystery School, 2009, the Chaplaincy Institute's chaplaincy program in 2016, and the Spiritual Direction program in 2020, which is where I know Lisa. Her current work includes her spiritual counseling practice, facilitating beauty as medicine workshops, acting as an academic advisor and student cohort leader, and guest faculty at ChI, at the Chaplaincy Institute. She co-hosts the East-West Virtual Deaf Cafe with Reverend Katrina Leathers, our Dean of Students, and continues to be open to wherever Spirit leads her. Hundreds of Lisa's images can be found for free on Pexels. I use them in our communications, and her photo books are for sale on Blurb. Lisa currently lives in San Francisco Bay Area with her two feline companions, Richie and Margot. You can learn more about Lisa and follow her blog at ljwdivinesite.org, I think.
Oh.
All right, let's take a moment now as we begin to prepare for our time with Lisa to center ourselves. Let's remind ourselves that the divine is always with us in all things we do. I light our candle in honor of our circle here today. Thanks so much. All right, Lisa, turn it over to you.
Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. And so nice to see all these beautiful faces. Many I know, some I don't. So welcome. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I want to start out for about the first 5-7 minutes, giving you a little personal background, kind of my life story up to a very key point, turning point in my life. And then we're going to do an actual visual meditation with one of my photographs. And after that, I will come back into my journey of how I got into ChI and how it was for me going through ChI, and where I'm at today. So thank you in advance for listening. Hope it is entertaining to some degree. I'm also interweaving like 3 very circuitous threads together: creativity, spirit, and nature, because those are the 3 threads that have woven through my entire life. I grew up in the 60s and 70s in rural Western New York, south of Buffalo. My parents were Episcopalian, but I grew up around Catholic, Methodist, Jewish, and Episcopalian elders. The family basically attended church Christmas and Easter. My parents did encourage us to be culturally and spiritually curious. I grew up during the time of Jesus Christ Superstar and Godspell. So for me, it was like, I love Jesus. It was all about, Jesus as the man, not as what the church made him into. But my lifelong dream was to be a National Geographic photographer. I went off to school for photography. And interestingly enough, in college, that was where I kind of fell into this role of confidant, advisor, counselor with fellow students. It seemed, when I look back, to be a precursor of my current spiritual direction guiding role now. My roommate and I counseled friends frequently, often with a little help from some marijuana, tequila, and tarot card readings. I didn't do church or religion as an adult, except for attending weddings, funerals, or to photograph them. And then in the mid 80s, I went through some pretty dark times. There was a lot of loss. There was divorce, surgery, grandparents dying. So, life was all about career. I worked for an advertising agency. I had a marketing career. I moved to Colorado from New York and started my own business. I climbed Kilimanjaro. I was working in the outdoor recreation industry. So for me, my work was play, and being in nature was being with spirit for me. In 2000, my mom died at the age of 75. I was 44, and I created her celebration of life and also a memorial, 2 very different celebrations, one in Colorado, one back in New York. And also about that time, a couple friends asked me to officiate their weddings. And I was like, but I'm not a minister. And in Colorado, you didn't need to be one. Anybody could marry anybody in Colorado. So, people were seeing something in me I wasn't necessarily seeing or willing to see or ready to see at that point. So that was kind of interesting, and it was a lot of fun. Then in 2005, May 3rd to be exact, I had a near-death experience, and it happened during surgery that was to save my life because of surgery that had gone wrong. And I was in the hospital for a good month. It was also a point in time when I had my first encounter with a chaplain. She came into the room. All she said very, very sweetly was, "May I sit?" And if I hadn't had the near-death experience, I probably would have said, "No, thank you." But because of what I had just been through, I was like, "Sure, have a seat." And she just listened. And it was a very special treat, I think, to have somebody just listen, because nobody else wanted to listen to my story and my experience. And she just listened. And I remember she wore a turban. So I think she was a Sikh, but she said she was interfaith. This was in Boulder, Colorado, 2005. And she gave me a book afterwards. She gave me a book about labyrinths, because I was kind of talking about labyrinths and and my near-death experience. Basically, that experience rocked my world. I like to say that it dumped my life out of the bucket, and there was no way I could put the pieces back in the same way. So I was really kind of like, okay, who am I now? Where am I? What am I doing? And it was shortly after I was home recovering that I attended an amazing weekend workshop at Naropa with John Dido Lori Roshi, who was a Zen Buddhist abbot. And he taught contemplative Zen photography. And it was during this weekend that I learned this meditation technique that we're going to do that is now currently part of the core, one of the core elements of my practice and beauty as medicine workshops. And it's really about learning how to connect our inner world with our outer world. Dido was a student of Minor White. Minor White was a West Coast photographer during the same time as Ansel Adams. And he was a Zen, he was into Zen. And his whole thing, his photography was his spiritual practice. Every photograph he took, it was like, ooh, what's this mean about me? What's going on inside me? So that's where I'm coming from now with my work. And that's what contemplative photography is for me. So if you're ready to do a meditation, I would ask you, I will invite you to close your eyes while I prepare the screen. And just begin to center yourself and quiet your mind. Notice your breath. And if you can, imagine a cord or a line connecting your third eye, your eyes, your heart, and down to your hara, down to your solar plexus area or just below. Knowing that all of these energy centers are organs of perception for things like beauty and wisdom traditions. So now if you would, just flash your eyes open real quickly and close them again. And notice what, if anything, remains on the inside of your closed eyelid. Was there an image burned in or some flash, maybe a color? And now I want you to invite you to slowly open your eyes and begin to focus on the image. Slowly, slowly traveling around it. Try to avoid all the questions that are popping up. What is it? Why is it? How did it happen? How did she do that? Let those all go. And begin to feel any kinesthetic sensations you might feel. What is the texture of the air, the temperature of the air? Notice if you feel like you're floating or if you're grounded. Are you cool or are you warm? And as your eyes are wandering around the image, notice if any emotions begin to crop up. Is there happiness? Is there tension? curiosity. Just notice, there's no right or wrong. This is just a noticing. And then I invite you to hop into the image somewhere, someplace that's really calling you. Imagine yourself inside the image. And what does it look like from that vantage point? Are you on a petal or a branch or a bud? Are you buzzing around it? Again, just noticing. Feel free to explore. You can either sit in one place or you can explore around. Just take it all in. Take it all in with your eyes. Take it all in with your ears. Is there any sound arising? Any smells arising? Open all your senses. And when you're ready, come back out of the image. And notice what, if anything, you think might be beyond the boundary of the photograph. The question with contemplative photography is always, what else is there? What's the deeper understanding? What's the deeper meaning? What's the deeper feeling or sensation? Which, by the way, this meditation can be done with any piece of art. It can be done with music. It can be done with something that's been read, written. So now go ahead and close your eyes. And then one last time, open them, drink it all in. Close your eyes again and let the image go. And when you're ready, feel free to come back to our circle and our screens. And I'd like you to just maybe make a couple notes of what came up for you. And when we get to the end of our time together, where we have questions and answers, maybe we can do some sharing there of what came up. So I learned that in 2005. And there was a small group of us students who went to that workshop that stayed together and worked with that process monthly for several years. And it was really quite enlightening, because whatever image we were focusing on for each other, we invariably discovered what was going on internally with the photographer who took the image. So it became kind of therapeutic. So fast forward, it's now 2009. And thank you for joining me in that little trip. It's now 2009, and my career is kind of waffling. I had let all my clients go and was down to just one client. And they decided I wasn't needed at a particular meeting. I was sitting home and kind of bemoaning, woe is me, what's going to become of me? And I was reading a Buddhist magazine, I think at the time, and I saw this ad for Nine Gates Mystery School. And immediately sent an email and then went for a walk, went down around the corner to the Episcopal Church, who had a labyrinth outside. And I walked the labyrinth and I said, give me a sign that this is what I need to do. And when I finished the walk, there was this glorious, like these sun rays, and it coming through the clouds, but it looked like they were coming up from the earth. And when I got home, there was a message saying, yes, there was an opening and I could come in May. So that was the beginning of the journey that actually brought me to ChI. So the Nine Gates Mystery School is an experiential embodied school that incorporates esoteric wisdom teachings, initiations, and ceremonies aligned with each chakra, and they use 9 chakras. And after part 1, it comes in 2 series, two parts. And before the end of part 1, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to accompany people on their awakening journey. So when I got done going through the course, I actually ended up on the volunteer staff for 4 years, and also was the virtual temple keeper, holding space for the community for all their prayers for 10 years. And I keep looking down because I have a squirmy cat on my lap who is demanding pets. She's actually helping to kind of ground me a little bit. So Nine Gates Mystery School is actually where I met Megan Wagner and Jim Larkin, as they teach there as well as at ChI. And in 2012, I sold my home in Colorado, left family, friends, the whole shebang, moved to Marin here in the Bay Area, lived with Gay Luce, who was the founder of the school, studied with Megan and Jim for like 3 years, and traveled around the world, and was also at the time connected with a couple friends of mine who'd gone from mystery school, who'd gone through ChI, and learned that the programs really dovetail very nicely. And it literally took me 3 years to make the decision to apply. Every year I'd get together with Kathleen Kaprowski, who graduated in 2012, and we'd talk about it. She'd say, just listen to your gut, just listen to your gut. So in 2015, I applied, and I knew I wanted to come here because while I had the esoteric and the ceremonial and the ritual background now, what I didn't have was that grounded, exoteric, historical, the good stuff that John Mabry's program, part of the program, brings with GST 1 and 2 and Theo Lit. And I knew I wanted to do something with art and spirit. I knew I wanted to be ordained, but I didn't really know why. What I also knew was I didn't want to do hospital or hospice chaplaincy. So my favorite classes were all the Arts for Awakening classes, the thread that Katrina held at the time and still holds, I believe. And I did all the homework for Arts for Awakening, all the extra work, the collages, the mandalas, the poetry, the listening to the wisdom of nature and writing about it. And then for my practicum, I struggled for 6 months trying to write something that had art in it that wasn't working in a hospital, and was just, totally frustrated. An advisor, I think it was actually John Mabry, who said, just let it go, give it some room to breathe, the answer will come. And it did. And I ended up with another Nine Gates Mystery School teacher, Babaji Harihar Ramji, taking up residency at his ashram in Sonoma for my practicum and my secondary faith tradition. And what was so interesting was here again, spiritual companioning that had shown up in my college years showed up again at the ashram, and mystery school, and showed up again at the ashram, because I was holding space for fellow residents. I was holding space for the Sangha. The executive director, who had been there for 14 years, left like the month I showed up. So I kind of stepped into that role. And I was taking pictures every day around the ashram and creating brochures and doing communications and managing special events. So that was a great opportunity. And I was living there when I got ordained. And then I wasn't. It's kind of like you go to live at the ashram until you don't. And my agreement with Baba was for a year. So at the end of that year, I left. And very surprisingly, I found my way into a position at a hospital as a resident chaplain. And I've learned that, what you resist most is probably what you need to work with. And it was a full year, and I did only one unit of CPE. I loved my supervisors. I loved my team. I enjoyed working with patients and staff. I didn't like the bureaucracy. And I learned that for me, I needed or preferred to have longer term relationships with clients, patients, etc. And that 20 minutes with a patient in a hospital just wasn't doing it for me. So I left. And I think one of the things that I have learned from my near-death experience is that I don't make a lot of plans. I let spirit guide me, and things just kind of fall into place. And that's how I continue to live. And I've gone through times when I didn't have work, and then all of a sudden work shows up. Just exactly what I need. And I do want to say this about creativity, having creative gifts, and working as a hospital chaplain. There's a wonderful ChI grad from 2016 that I hope will do a ChI talk soon, Jennifer Miller, who has created incredible amount of tools for chaplains to use in hospitals. And I took some of her stuff and we used them at the hospital that I worked at. So there are opportunities there. It just wasn't a good fit for me. I think what I want to say, one of my messages today is that our spiritual path often takes a very circuitous line, and that divine timing isn't necessarily our timing. I look back over the years, and when you get that perspective of living long enough where you can look back and see all the steps you took to get where you are today, and understand that they all had meaning and purpose, but they didn't necessarily seem like that at the time. That, it's really, I never wanted to be a therapist, but the idea of working with, spiritual direction, spiritual companioning, spiritual counseling, and helping others accompanying others on their awakening path was that's exactly what I have always wanted to do. I think I even wrote, I think it was in one of the programs with Megan and Jim, where I think I even wrote like what my future job was going to be. And I think I've nailed it finally. It just took a while. So yeah, over that course of time, I studied with several spiritual teachers, took a trip around the world, lived in an ashram, did hospital chaplaincy, even worked on staff at ChI for a couple of years. And I just want to say that the ChI community is an amazing community to be part of. I feel very blessed to have ChI as one of my spiritual communities. It's not only a place where, we learn about world religions and we prepare for our calling into service. We learn about ourselves. We're stretched. We get to experiment. We grow and we step into our full becoming as clergy or spiritual directors. So 2020 with COVID, I started walking every day and posting photos on social media. And that became my gift of beauty as medicine. People started to expect seeing my images and following me. And now there's all kinds of people that are doing all these beautiful photos online. And it's just great. I follow all them. Last fall, I started, I guess it was 2019, 2020, I started teaching the near-death, mysteries of near-death experiences in the dying and being with dying and death module at ChI. And last fall, I taught a class about, just created the class and taught it, symbolism of colors in world traditions for the fall retreat. And then Carrie very generously invites me in to be with the ordinands to do a little workshop, a little beauty as medicine workshop. I think I also still have, a great deal of interest in helping to alleviate suffering, people who have terminal illness and are preparing to die. So I'm open to wherever spirit leads me. I'm children, and the Buddhist teachings tell you everything is impermanent and we're always moving and always changing. And I'm trying to be in the flow. So I want to close out my little presentation here, my blah, 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 before we move into Q&A with a couple of readings. One is the poem that the newest ordinands, our newest clergy, co-created in a woven writing exercise and was read at their ordination. A forever blessing. I could stand here forever. That seems to be the default option. But why? What could the effort cost me that outweighs the joy on the other side? This discomfort and fear I feel can be nothing short of a blessing. Can I trust it? I fly to the moon and fall into the embrace of the moon mother, asking to be held in this. Gliding down her moonbeam, I stand at the threshold, looking through the veils to what lies beyond. An invitation is beckoning as you step through and accept what finds you on the other side. And then finally, I want to read a piece that I actually wrote yesterday. I'm in a writing program called Wild Writing. And the teacher reads a couple of poems, picks a few lines from the poem as prompts, and then for 15 minutes, we write as fast as we can. Pen never leaves the paper, get past our thinking mind. So this is all stuff that just falls onto the paper. So my prompt was, bear with me, I want to tell you something about. Bear with me, I want to tell you something about what it means to be ordained and to witness and uphold the ordination of others. Sitting in the front pew, sun blazing through the massive stained glass window, my attention is drawn to the altar the 6 ordinands created. Beauty blossoms everywhere, not just from the cacophony of wildflowers or the stately Kuan Yin statue or the delicately draped purple and white altar cloth, but the beauty of the 6 stained glass candle holders, each one unique, each one made specifically for that soon-to-be clergy by a fellow ordinand, her gift of beauty everlasting to her cohort. When each student stood to deliver their homily from the pulpit, they radiated pride, confidence, and humility, owning their hard-earned rightful place on this threshold of becoming. A hospital chaplain, a hospice chaplain, a corporate chaplain, a chaplain activist, a street priestess, a congregational minister, all declaring their intentions, their gifts to the world, all keenly aware that this ceremony was yet another first step along their journey, and that for all their planning, the next steps will only unfold one footfall at a time. The ceremony moved on. Family members and loved ones draped stoles over their shoulders, each one receiving their charge from a mentor. I was blessed to give one such charge and brought it not from my heart alone, but from the hearts of his classmates who had accompanied him for over 2 years. Words that let him know he was seen, appreciated, and charged to be even more of his authentic true self. I managed to speak it without tearing up as he was. I've been with some of these precious beings for the duration of their time in seminary, like a mother hen corralling her chicks as they waded through academic rigors and unfolded through sometimes bruising self-exploration, all the while coming to the term with their calling. The icing on the cake was to be one of 3 witchy women, divine feminine priestesses, to whisper blessings in their ears, anoint them with holy oil on their brow, to open and bless their intuition, their hearts, their hands, to humbly witness their becoming, and to welcome them as colleagues. Just a couple little examples of beauty as medicine in the written word. And of course, beauty as medicine can come in all creative forms. It can be music, dance, gardening, knitting. Wherever you find spirit, wherever spirit finds you, wherever you're co-creating with spirit. So the questions I have for you, and then you guys can question me. Where and how do you connect with spirit, source, the sacred? What creative outlets or activities or spiritual practices are spiritual practices for you? And what might a creative ministry look like for you, if that's something you're considering? So there's certainly a lot of different ways to use this in the world. I think it was Frederick Buchner who said, our purpose is where our greatest love intersects with the needs of the world. Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing from your heart and so much juicy, wonderful. Oh, beauty. I guess is the word I have. I want to apologize for hopping off there. My internet went down. So thank you, Crystal, Lisa, whoever started recording again. I really appreciate it. And then I want a personal point of privilege. It's a gift that you bring to the ordinance, Lisa, when you come and give the beauty as medicine. And I just want to show you the poem that the ordinance wrote together. It just happens to be right here on my desk. That what did they call it? A forever blessing. The forever blessing. And it was a beautiful co-creation, and there it is. So now we do have time for questions, and I wonder, Lisa, if you want to explore the flower image, and I wonder if some of you want to share any of your experience.
Yes.
Do you want to start with that? Do you want to put that image back up for just a minute?
Yes.
Sorry, I spring that on you.
No, that's a good reminder. So yeah, I'd love to hear anybody, any thoughts, comments? What came up? Yeah, Jim.
Oh, I haven't allowed you to unmute yet.
Yeah, you gotta let people unmute.
Let me fix that. I'm so sorry. Can you do it now, Jim?
Yes. So, surprise, surprise, the image that stuck with me is the tree of life.
Yeah.
And the bud that's floating in the middle that's not connected is dot. And I settled on that. It's the third eye in the tree of life.
Mhm.
And it's a portal. And I just went straight through it and into the cosmos. And it was awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Jim. That's awesome too.
I will say that I was one of the daily recipients of your Facebook posts during the pandemic and so appreciated that you're sharing all of that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Jim.
Alex, I saw your hand first, and thank you so much, Jim. Your question.
Yeah, I became captured and captivated by sort of the two twigs at the top that are each sort of holding a flower, and how they looked like figures dancing or cheerleading, if you will, with holding the flower up there. And I just felt like such joy, you know, at the dance. And so that it felt like there was a lot of movement in it, even though it's a still picture, because I just felt that joy of that dance. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
I think Fran was next on the hand raising. Nice to see you, Fran.
Hi, Fran.
Hi. I saw the whole thing as a Rorschach test. And in the middle 5 images as the center of the Rorschach. And those twigs that were just spoken about were goddesses blessing the whole thing. And it just stayed with me. It brought it all together. And then the question was, what was behind it? Was the universe, was the blue, was all that contains such images. So I really appreciate it, and it stayed with me through your conversation and whatever. It's very, very, what's the word? It takes it all in.
Wow. Thank you, Fran.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful, Fran. Thank you. I think next I saw Lucy's hand.
Hi there.
Hi, Liz.
Yeah, the whole darn thing was a celebration of womanhood and the goddess figure. I mean, everything from the ovaries on the side to the vagina to the women celebrating holding pom-poms. I mean, everything about it to me was this celebration of womanhood. And when you said to go into it, I was birthed from the center 2 twigs coming down into a beautiful warm bath. And I just sat there in this bath looking around and feeling the beautiful color and the scent. It was such a sensuous feeling for me. I just really felt whole. So thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Wow, Lucy, thank you. Beautiful. Channing, my sister Ralph, you're next.
Oh, you gotta unmute. There you go.
Yes, so much in this picture, and I really was caught up in new beginnings, in budding. And when you asked it to take a place in the picture, I sat right in the middle in that little cup that was underneath the 2 twigs, like right in the middle. And I sat there and I was surrounded by new life. just surrounded by new life. And as I looked around, every bud was different. Budding is a process that it's not the same for every new life that comes in. And I just felt so filled up with that sense of newness and new beginnings. And I'm sort of looking at that right now in my life.
Thank you, Channing.
Thank you, Lisa.
Beautiful. Wow. Casey, I think I saw your hand next. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I just love this image. Thank you so much for this, Lisa. What I'm particularly passionate about these days is the work of Thomas Berry and Brian Swim, and experiencing ourselves as the universe unfolding. And I just feel that so much in here, like the sentience of everything. And I see all the things that people were describing, and I also am seeing like a mask with eyes and third eye and mouth, and just the aliveness and the creative brilliance of what we've kind of been brought up to think of as inert or without sentience. And in this image, I just feel the aliveness and consciousness of everything. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Casey.
Thanks, Casey. So inspiring. Oh my gosh. Now I see all of these things. Jennifer, I see your hand up.
Hello. I love Lisa's images. And when this came up, my eye was drawn immediately to the branches as the structural element. And I thought, oh, it's holding, it's a vessel that is holding all of these blooms. And then, you know, for me, the divine is a place of holding. These arms outstretched, and it's all being supported. It's all interrelated. Myself and life and the divine. And then sort of slowly pulling out of the image, it was just that sense of how all of nature speaks to the sacred. And this is just like a joyous celebration of that, you know, in full color. And it reinvigorated my sense of that all of nature calls to the divine. So thank you for the way that these images take us on these journeys and bring us something new or remind us of something we've forgotten.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Wow. Debbie Bain, I see your hand next, although I think your video is not working, so I can't see your face.
Right. No, sorry about that. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just, you know, it's funny because what struck me most was just all the reflecting, all of the reflection. And of course, the when you asked us to go into the picture, you know, it was just reflecting on all the reflections. And I just kept getting all reflection was just like, you know, over and over in my head a million times, which you can't see my little hand movements that I have pointing to all that. But anyway, it was wonderful to feel the softness and beauty, knowing that it was so well supported. And yes, the first place I went was that lovely little like cocooning area in the center. I guess below those two twigs that come together. The place where, was it Lucy that was birthed into? I don't remember. Yeah, okay. And yes, in fact, it looks like on the two sides, there's two little people. The way, I guess, the budding or what, yeah, right there. Look like they're little heads of the little cheerleaders, as has been previously described. It was fun. It was soft. It was safe. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. And thank you for that. Often realize that I don't always feel that in my world. So it was a nice little vacation. And thank you so much, Lisa. You are a gift everywhere you go. And yes, just thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah.
Fran, I see your hand again.
First of all, everybody's comments have touched me and touched my heart and made me look more deeply into the image. And I noticed, or with everything I had said, that is not grounded. It is pulled up from what seems to me the earth that would hold and give it nourishment to be so beautiful and colored. And then the figure on the top is not connected. And it feels like spirit is raising the whole thing from the bottom that isn't connected. And it feels like the person that talked about the earth is beauty, it's pulling the beauty up to spirit. So I'm really interested in those two images, parts of the image. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
It's beautiful. Lisa, do you want to say anything about this? And then I have housekeeping things to add.
Yeah, I just, so I have a series. There's a whole family of these images called Divine Reflections in Nature. And it is one of my books on Blurb. And it's a lay flat book, and you can meditate with the images. There's now 12. There used to be 10. There's now 12. I actually have like 40, but they let me know when they're ready to be released. And these are all goddesses. They're all named after the divine feminine, and they all have mantras that go with them, although I can't remember what the mantra is for this one. This is Maya's illusion. I can't find the file on my desktop to tell me what her mantra is, but you can also make up mantras with each of the images. So yeah, and if you go on my website, you can see 10 of the images on one of my web pages. But she's fairly new. She happened during COVID. So thank you for everybody's input, though. Oh my God.
Wonderful.
I'm just overwhelmed. Yeah.
Crystal just put your website in the chat. So if anybody wants to find that. And Lisa, do you happen to have one of your books in front of you?
Oh, I do. Hang on.
Okay. I have a house full, or just a house full of people leaving. And so I have them, but they're right there behind 3 mattresses that are leaning up against the wall. So I can't get to them.
Well, and
I gave gifts to the last round of ordinance too, of one of Lisa's books.
This is the Divine Reflection in Nature's book, and this is edition 2. So it's bigger and more expensive.
Worth every penny.
And so this is Maya, Buddhist and Hindu mistress of illusion. And her mantra is, to pierce the veil of illusion is to realize the true nature of being.
It's hard to see. But...
yeah, it's hard to see with my background. Let me take my background.
But show us the front of your book too, like, if you don't mind. Yeah, so they're big and beautiful books. And you can use them in your practice of spiritual direction with clients for Visio Divina. You can use them for yourself with Visio Divina in the hospital.
Um,
You get
yeah.
them?
And I also want to say that, these are on for sale on Blurb, and because they're digitally printed one-offs, they're expensive.
It's okay, they're worth it. Does anybody have the link to Blurb handy? Crystal, did we pull that up? I don't have it. Okay. And then, so I would invite you to look at Lisa's books, but also if anybody is interested, I'm not sure if there's anybody here brand new to the Chaplaincy Institute, but if you're interested in ChI, our website is chaplaincyinstitute.org, all one word. Or you can email us at admissions@chaplaincyinstitute.org. And we would love to be in touch with you. It's our favorite thing to do, to talk to people. And if you want to bring Lisa in to do beauty as medicine for your people and wind up with poems like this, I mean, this is literally what they wrote, I think she would do that for you. It's a beautiful process.
Yep. How many on the call are local Bay Area?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Might need to put a group together.
You do need to put a group together.
Please do.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, dear ones, beloveds, thank you so much for being together today. I'm sure we could have gone another hour. Lisa, thank you so much for
My
being
pleasure.
with us. Deeply appreciate it. And
Thank
Crystal,
you.
thank you for playing Zoom Jockey.
Yes.
I sure appreciate it. Thank you all for
Crystal.
coming today.
Thank everybody.
And you on with many, many blessings and so much love and joy. Nice to
Thank
see
you all so much.
Bye.